watching? Short answer, yes. Long answer, watch the rest of this video to find out. So, the first episode of Ms. Marvel came out last week, just about a week ago. The second episode's actually coming out tomorrow, or really like midnight Pacific time tonight. So I watched Ms. Marvel right when it came out last week, and I watched it again yesterday just to get a refresher before filming this video, and I wanted to just share my thoughts, reaction to the episode, and you know, what I think. Do I think it's worth the watch? Yes. I like how the episode starts with her own YouTube video that she's made. Oh my gosh, the quality on that is kind of ridiculous, really good, but it's also like super relatable to me as a small YouTuber. It kind of, I don't know, I think her character is really relatable. She mentions apparently Scott Lang has a podcast and she has a theory that Thor is a gamer. Fun little snippets in there in that video. Also, watching it the first time I saw her video had 2 comments, and one of them was from someone saying, I have no idea who made this, but it's like the best thing ever, or something along those lines. And I noticed the second time that comment was totally from Bruno. It made me crack up. Also, the other comments from someone named Nakia, reference to Black Panther, I guess. The part with the driving test, oof. I don't know how she could be that terrible of a driver, but it did get the rest of the plot in motion. Her mom mentioned that her mother was a fantasizing, unrealistic daydreamer like her, and I realized that that's the person who she gets the bracelet thing from, right? Does that mean her grandma had those same powers secretly? I really liked the high school vibe while she was walking through the school. It reminds me of the way that they pulled it off in Spider-Man, especially Spider-Man Homecoming. Mr. Wilson was hilarious. He literally just quoted Mulan lyrics to her. I was thinking during that scene on my rewatch that it would be funny if there was some quote at some point, because, you know, she's getting ready for applying for college the next year, etc. If there was some point where she says something like, I bet Spider-Man doesn't have to worry about this, but literally that was a big portion of the plot of No Way Home, but no one knows who Spider-Man is anymore. So yeah, that would be a fun quote to throw in there at some point in this series. I have to say, I love both Kamala and Bruno. They are some of my favorite characters. They're both super relatable in like different ways. I personally love Bruno as like the nerdy smart side character, and Kamala is a great main character, you know, feeling misunderstood. It's gonna be a coming of age story, right? But also like she's super relatable in her like obsessiveness over the Avengers. Just like MCU fans and people part of the MCU fandom, I'm totally obsessive about the MCU the same way that she's obsessive about the Avengers. It's really relatable in that way. But I also like really love the dynamic between the two of them. Like they're joking with each other, and then they're also really like supportive of each other, and I love it. I love them. Bruno's also like really supportive of Kamala as well. There's like there's a touching scene where she's like, oh, people like me aren't heroes, and he's like, you're a hero. I love it. Bruno is like super smart. He like freaking made his own version of Alexa. And then with Kamala, I understand her frustration with like her parents and not necessarily feeling understood by them. She wants to go a different route in life than like all of the adults in her life are telling her she needs to focus and come back down to reality. I think that this show is definitely gonna delve into like what's important in life, and she's gonna have a chance to be like the hero, but also realize that like her family is important too. So at least at this point in time, that's kind of what I'm guessing is gonna be the theme. The moment when her dad came in with the Hulk costumes was so cute. I love her dad. He's a really likable character. And the Hulk costumes weren't that bad, but I understand like she spent all of this time working on her Captain Marvel costume. She's like, Captain Marvel's like her favorite Avenger and everything, and so like I understand that she didn't want to go in those costumes. But she made her dad so sad. Oh, her dad. Poor dad. There are also a lot of really cool editing moments in this show. Like, just the ways that it shows her fantasy land, her doodling, all of the background stuff. Like, the part where she's discussing what's gonna be her take on Captain Marvel, and it has, like, all the images in the background. That part was kind of reminiscent to me of Into the Spider-Verse. And I feel like this show is kind of similar in some aspects, but it's really celebrating like fandom culture instead of like comics like Into the Spider-Verse was. Even if the storyline itself hasn't been like the most unique thing ever, like some of that editing is just really good, and like the the whole vibe of the thing I love. And like, yeah, the montage of her showing her plan, like the way she imagined it. There's like the montage of the overly dramatic scenes of them getting to the convention. Obviously that's not how it's actually gonna play out, but like that's how she imagines it in her head, and so that's how it plays out while she's explaining the plan. That was really cool. And then also the fact that as it goes through, each step of the plan actually occurring, and it shows like the changes of the plan on screen. Oh, that wasn't at the right time. She got home late, like 2 hours late. The convention looked super fun. I wonder what it would have been like to be on set, like as an extra that day. Oh, I'm playing a cosplayer playing one of the Avengers in the MCU. In the MCU. Bruno's costume was nice and boring, just put on a lab coat. I thought that was funny, but also it makes sense that he would be dressing up as a Bruce Banner. That's probably someone he looks up to in this universe, right? Then we get to the costume contest. She forgot the photon gloves, but she gets the bracelet on last minute, and that's what gives her powers. You know, she glows and no one sees her, but then she gets up on stage. Everyone thinks it's a trick. What? Okay, can I just say though, this part felt kind of reminiscent of that one episode of Wizards of Waverly Place where Harper finds out, you know, where she does like a costume contest cosplaying as some fake version of Wonder Woman, but Alex had accidentally enchanted the costume with like the superpowers of the superhero, and she does that on stage and they have to find a way to like cover that up. It kind of felt like that for like a second there when Kamala was using her powers accidentally. Although obviously this show was much better done than Wizards of Waverly Place. All heck breaks loose, and then of course this person from her high school is like, oh my gosh, do you do parties? And then she gets in trouble. And then we get one little taste of like Kamala's actual powers in the comics because she uses the powers with the bracelet to stretch out her arm and catch Zoe. So that was interesting. I wonder how much she's gonna use powers similar to that, like similar to her original powers in the comic book in the TV show. Then at the end, she gets caught, of course, and her mom asks her to decide if she wants to be the good person she was raised to be, or if she wants to be this person with her head in the clouds, and then she says cosmic, which is a reference to her saying, like, the latter, right? Also, credit scene, I recognized the guy the first time, but it took me a second to place him. I'm like, is that the guy from No Way Home? I'm not sure. I googled it just to make sure, and yeah, that's the guy from No Way Home. He's part of the Department of Damage Control, so I'm wondering if they're gonna be the main, like, antagonists in this show. It's a possibility. So those are like my main reactions, play by play, going through the episode like scene by scene. My main takeaways though, did I like the show? Yes, I definitely liked it. Like I mentioned, I feel like Kamala is a really likable and relatable character, especially to like MCU fans. Bruno is also very relatable and likable, at least personally. I see myself in him a little bit just as like the nerdy character. I definitely feel like the show is made for MCU fans, like not necessarily for like the general audience like the films. Obviously those are made for MCU fans as well. But like this one is specifically targeting like diehard MCU fans I think. So when it comes down to it, at least so far, this episode has had a pretty classic plot that was like a combination of misunderstood teenager, beginning of a coming of age story, right? Doesn't feel understood by the adults around them, especially their parents, ends up like sneaking out to go to some event they really want to go to. That mixed with a pretty classic plot of character finds out they have superpowers in some dramatic way. Obviously, we're only one episode in, and I feel like in the end, this first episode might not be like the best episode, but it was a really good setup for getting to know the characters and the powers that she's going to start learning more about. I'm super excited to see her explore those powers, especially in terms of like us as the audience figuring out exactly what they are, since they're not the same as the ones in the comics. But yeah, I'm super excited to see the next couple episodes, see her come into her own and explore her powers. And lastly, let me do some predictions. Always gotta do that, right? So, top 3 predictions for the next episode or the series as a whole based on episode 1. Number 1, the Department of Damage Control is going to be the primary antagonist. I'm looking at you, Mr. P. Cleary. I think that's his name. Of course, that's based on the credit scene, and we haven't really had any tease of like a big bad, so it could make sense for them to just be going after her as some potential threat of someone who has powers. Prediction number 2, Kamala will find out that her Nani, her grandmother, had the same powers because she had that bracelet, which is what gives her the powers, obviously. And also, that's why her grandmother was considered like a daydreamer, head in the clouds type of person by Kamala's mom. And lastly, prediction number 3, it'll take the whole season for Kamala to reconcile with her parents. I bet it'll be like this whole journey for her. And in the end, she's gonna find the balance to be both a superhero and find value in her parents and family. Anyway, those are my thoughts, reactions, and predictions after watching Miss Marvel episode 1. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know down in the comments what you thought of the first episode of Miss Marvel. Of course, like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe, which you can do by clicking down there. Click the notification bell so you'll be notified when I post videos about upcoming Marvel content, and of course, check out some of my videos while you wait. Up top is one of my videos I posted about the Loki TV show, and underneath that is the playlist of all of my Marvel related videos. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!